Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burbies 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Superior quality drink mix at an affordable price. Rasna drink mix. With over 5 delicious flavors to choose from, a 25-gram pack makes up to 1 liter of drink. There is no need to add sugar. Unlike other drink mixes, Rasna is made with all natural flavors and is low in sugar. It also contains 5 essential daily vitamins and minerals. Rasna drink mix is available nationwide. For more information, call us on 233-2473. Rasna, endorsed by celebrities.
Hello and welcome to your news at noon right here on Kaieteur Radio that comes to you with the compliments of Rasna Drink Mix. Kevin Smith here with your news in capsule. In the Fleecing of Guyana series, that should be Kevin Smith here with the news at noon. These are the top stories we are tracking. The Fleecing of Guyana series, despite having oil sector experience, Kaieteur owners were not qualified to develop block. And Stabroek Block Reserve increased to 9 billion barrels. Hess says Guyana will drive its recovery. Meanwhile, Harman dodges yet again questions on oil blocks deal, says Kaieteur News knows more than him. And NISIL changed clause to allow sub-release or sale, says the AG, as SOCU and GPF to investigate. And school dropout confesses to participating in Lagrange murder.
Have to be a fountain of knowledge to help children with their schoolwork while they're at home. But you do have to be caring, understanding, loving, and patient. It's an unsettling time for everyone, but children still need a safe and secure environment. So don't overwhelm them with endless news items or problems. Keep them gainfully occupied and amused, exercised and rested. Protect our children.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
The government of Guyana has begun the rollout of the COVID-19 $25,000 household cash grant. Citizens are being advised that there is no pre-registration requirement. Clearly identified distribution clerks under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance will visit the respective households to verify credentials. Following this exercise, distribution will be done on a house-to-house basis. In cases where there are multiple households in one home, only the principal householder will receive the cash grant in the first instance. However, the other householders will be required to provide their information on a pink form, and following verification, they will receive the cash grant. The $25,000 household cash grant is in keeping with the government's promise to provide economic relief during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And now for the news in detail. The two initial owners of the Kaieteur block, Ratio Energy Limited, renamed Kaieteur Energy, and Ratio Guyana, were not qualified to develop the ultra-deepwater Kaieteur block. They flipped the block to ExxonMobil, a more capable company, in March 2017 without doing any work. The two directors of Kaieteur are the Canadian Michael Kaywood and Guyanese Ryan Pereira. Neither of them had any experience in oil and gas prior to receiving the block. As for Ratio Guyana, the other initial owner of the Kaieteur block, its parent company is the Israeli company Ratio Petroleum. This company has nearly 3 decades of experience in the industry. However, it does not have the capacity to conduct ultra-deepwater drilling, which is required for the Kaieteur acreage. In other news, Hess CEO John Hess recently revealed that the estimated recoverable resource discovered in the Stabroek block has been revised upward to 9 billion oil equivalent barrels. The previous estimate was 8 billion barrels. The revelation was made during Hess's announcement of its performance for the third quarter of 2020, during which the company claimed a net loss of $243 million due to the downward turn of the industry from the impact of COVID-19. Yet, the company is not at all worried about that. It expects Guyana to drive its recovery. In spite of the loss incurred, Hess was keen to note that the company remains optimistic about its strong recovery thanks to discoveries offshore Guyana. In other news, leader of the opposition, Joseph Harmon, once again denied knowledge of details of the Kanji and Kaieteur oil blocks award and subsequent transfers of interest. In doing so, the former Minister of State denied that the Ministry of the Presidency, where he served under the previous government, had anything to do with the transfers of interests in the blocks. He fielded questions from one of our reporters in the conference room of the Triumph East Coast Demerara RDC, following a meeting with regional councillors of the coalition. Harmon was reminded that he had, on multiple occasions, committed to providing information about the suspicious awards of the two valuable oil blocks. In response, he denied any further knowledge, repeating an earlier statement that he had made, that Kaieteur seems to have more information than he does. Let's tell you now that Guyana's State Lands Act clearly stipulates that whenever state lands are leased, the lease agreement must indicate that the leasee shall not part with lands or shall not assign the interest in the said agreement without the consent of the state. However, that very clause was altered in a large number of NISIL lease agreements, currently at the center of investigations concerning the large-scale giveaway of prime lands located at Peters Hall, East Bank Demerara. In reviewing the lease agreements in contention, Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Anil Nandlal pointed out that the lease was altered, adding an insertion that saw hundreds of prime lands being resold and transferred, with the state acquiring zero revenue from the transactions. Thousands of files, Nandlal said, have been passed to SOCU and the police to ensure that the guilty parties are brought to justice. Let's tell you now that the juvenile held for the murder of Lagrange businesswoman, 86-year-old Bibi Ramjit, has confessed to being part of the heinous crime. Ramjit was strangled to death on Sunday at her two-story home at Lagrange, West Bank Demerara, which houses a grocery shop on the bottom flat. According to a police report, the elderly woman's body was found at around 17 hours by a farmer. Though not quite sure, sources close to the investigation believe that she might have been murdered during the course of a robbery. Cops later arrested a teen whom they identified as a 16-year-old school dropout. Senior police sources have since informed that the teen has admitted to being involved in the woman's death. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM, and this is your news at noon. Coming up after the break, PNCR distances itself from Bond, says he is not an executive, and Burby's bridge deal favors smaller investors over NIS, says Brassington, as he admits in court. Stay tuned.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues, immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
The government of Guyana has begun the rollout of the COVID-19 $25,000 household cash grant. Citizens are being advised that there is no pre-registration requirement. Clearly identified distribution clerks under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance will visit the respective households to verify credentials. Following this exercise, distribution will be done on a house-to-house basis. In cases where there are multiple households in one home, only the principal householder will receive the cash grant in the first instance. However, the other householders will be required to provide their information on a pink form, and following verification, they will receive the cash grant. The $25,000 household cash grant is in keeping with the government's promise to provide economic relief during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. The PNCR has sought to distance itself from its member, James Anthony Bond, who is at the center of allegations regarding his collecting $1 million for the sale of prime lands situated, that should be prime state lands, situated at Peters Hall, East Bank, Demerara. The PNCR also went as far as to say that Bond is not even an executive member of the party, but rather a senior member. It was PNCR General Secretary Amna Ali who made it clear that Bond was not an executive in response to the allegations. We had reported that Bond pocketed the $1 million for the sale of 10 acres of land at Peters Hall for a company called Arkin Group Inc., of which he is said to be a principal. The other player in the company is listed as Jermaine Richmond. Let's tell you now that former head of NISL, Winston Brassington, has admitted to the Berbice Bridge deal favors smaller investors over the state-owned NIS, its largest investor. Brassington made this disclosure while under cross-examination in the libel trial against Kaieteur News over the Dem Boys articles, which he claims contained offensive, defamatory content against him. According to him, the reference in the article to that fat crook Brazzy in the satirical column of the newspaper meant and was understood to mean that the newspaper and its editor sought to convey that he, as NISL's head, was dishonest, had been guilty of criminal activity and corrupt practices in the conduct of his work in a number of projects, including the award of a road construction contract for $18 million in the first phase of the Amila Falls Hydro Project. In other news, a team consisting of 5 investigators from the regional security system arrived yesterday to assist the Guyana Police Force in finding the killers of brutally murdered Berbice teens 17-year-old Harish Singh, 19-year-old Joel Henry, and 16-year-old Isaiah Henry. In a press statement issued by the Guyana Police Force's PRO, Assistant Commissioner Royston Andrews Jr., it was revealed that the foreign team is here following a memorandum of understanding signed between the Government of Guyana and the Caribbean Community Implementation Agency for Crime and Security. In other news, a suspect, aged 25 years old, has reportedly confessed to killing a minor on Saturday last at Big Creek Back Dam in the Northwest District, following a row over a card game. According to police reports, the minor, 34-year-old Kevin Baines of Ansgrove, was slain sometime around 18 hours 30. Based on investigations carried out by Ranks, Baines and his alleged killer were playing a game of cards at the location when an argument erupted between them. Sources from Big Creek area said that the row was over a sum of cash, which the suspect did not want to pay Baines. And finally, 9 of the 10 administrative regions of Guyana have elected chairpersons with a number of notable changes. A number of faces have remained, with a woman now in charge of the Regional Democratic Council in Region 2. Regions 2, 4, 7, and 10 are the regions with new chairpersons. However, elections for a chair for Region 8 was not possible as 2 councillors reportedly tested positive for COVID-19 and are currently in quarantine. It is now 12 hours 14. Coming up next is your COVID-19 update.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.